Hey everyone, Will here from Mature Minded Gamers, and today I am joined by Eric and Ryan.
Hey, everybody.
And today we are going to be going over our top 5 games for Gen Con 2021. Can you guys believe it? 2021 Gen Con, where it's actually coming up. It's here. Well, let's just say it's right around the corner. I am so stoked for this. You guys?
Man, I can't believe it's less than a week.
It's exciting because it feels a little bit more normal. So
Right? With no Gen Con last year, could not be more excited to actually be attending Gen Con this year. Albeit we do have to wear our masks, but that's not going to deter me from showing up, buying some games, checking out some stuff that I haven't even heard of yet, and mingling with some friends and some vendors that I haven't seen since 2019. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our first game on the list, and I believe that is going to be from our very own Eric.
Yeah, and I'm not great at math here, but 5 games each. So that's how many total are we gonna talk about here?
3 times 5, that's 15.
15 games that we're excited for Gen Con. And I'll be honest, I had 10 on my list when we started. And some of the games were on your guys' list. We kind of whittled them down. But even though this is going to be a smaller Gen Con than previous, a lot of vendors are still showing up. There's a few big ones not there, but there's still going to be a ton of games. And man, I cannot wait to check it out. All right, number 1 on my list, though, the one, the only Sleeping Gods. I'm excited for this one. And not only does it look fantastic, it's got the crazy 60 to 1200 minute playtime, which I have dying to know why. Why is there such a variance? How can you play this game in 1 hour, or it ends up taking 1200 minutes? I'm not good at math again. How many hours is that? 60. Is that right? No, that's not right. How many hours is 1200 minutes? Ryan, you're my mathlete here, buddy.
all right, well, as I was muted, 20 hours.
20 hours. I mean, other than a legacy game and maybe like, the old school like Risk and stuff like that. Well, not even Risk, I don't think. I don't think I've ever played a game for 20 hours. Will?
D&D.
Well, yeah, you are right. So one of the things about these games is each session that you can last as long as you wanted to. So I mean, like you could take a break and log things in a journal sheet, which is really cool and really unique about games from Ryan Lockett. And these games are are a lot of fun to play, and the fact that the board is a book and you're going to be opening it up and going to different pages and exploring the different maps, these games are absolutely gorgeous to look at and are actually very popular. And I agree with you. I'm pretty excited to check this one out myself.
That's my first one on the list. I think you nailed everything about it. I am not very familiar with his games. I know you told me they were very popular. When I read through this, and it was very, very much like looking for hidden treasures. And it's got some really cool looking characters from the shots, the board pieces, and the artwork looked really cool. It just got me super excited for it, and I can't wait to check it out.
Absolutely. I do dig these storybook games. So, all right. So next up on the list, we're gonna go ahead and head to Ryan. He's gonna tell us a game he's looking forward to at Gen Con.
Absolutely. And honestly, Eric, for your Sleeping Gods games, the material components, the little pieces that's coming with it, looks fantastic. Speaking of material components that look fantastic, the game I'm looking forward to is 303 Squadron, which is an World War II flight aviation game, miniature game that can be played cooperative, which you don't see that a lot with miniature games. It is a not procedurally, it's mission based is the word I'm thinking about. That campaign or mission based that will give you a target to work with. So you can play this alone, you can play this with friends, you can cooperatively fly together. It's $80 is going to be the base game, and then it's got several expansions coming out with it at the same time, about $22 a piece. And you're going to get fully painted, colored models ready to come out of the box, ready to play on a fairly large mat. like a 2x3 or 3x4. I can't really find that off the top of my head, but a large playing field so that you can take over the skies together. Now,
You know, when I first saw this game, sorry to interrupt you, but when I first saw this game, I thought Wings of Glory, Wings of War. Have you ever heard of those?
yes, yes.
Yeah, I was thinking it was going to be that.
Well, I think it's to me, the little bit that I've looked at, it's kind of because it's the squadron side. There's more models on the table than when you're playing Wings of Glory. I have not played Wings of War, so maybe that's a little more squadron based. But I kind of how because there's the X-wing game from Fantasy
Mhm.
Flight, and then there's the more like the Armada version of that game.
Right.
This feels like it's going to sit somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
That number of models on there. So I honestly I don't know. Won't know until we get a chance to look at it, see it, and get a chance to play something like this. But I'm looking forward to it nonetheless.
I think one of the reasons I'm kind of liking this game or liking the idea of it is most of those kind of games you had mentioned before, they're competitive, right? So it's usually one person versus one person or maybe even teams or whatever. Well, this is can be played completely cooperatively. Which how many games can you think of where you're going to be, having squadrons move around the board, especially World War II, where it's going to be not one person's the Germans, one person's the British, one person's the or the Royal Air Force. Like how many times do you see that? And I'm
Right.
stoked about that.
And that's one of the things I always struggle with board games in general. It's just how you get accessibility with people. You're going to see as I continue to talk about games, who I'm playing with is probably just as important of what I'm playing.
Mhm.
So being able to take my kids along on something like this, it's a lot easier to introduce them to something like this where we're working together than working against each other, especially as they're starting to learn the more complicated rule sets.
Absolutely. And this one is from publisher Hobbity and designer is Michael Coman. So all right, so first up that I've got of my 5 games I'm looking for is Velocity Vanguard. This one is from Precarious Games, designed by Joe Cornell and Larry Wolf. This one is a action point cooperative drafting event style open space game. I don't even know how more to describe this besides just take a look at this. All these components, all this color and beauty and inlaid player boards and tokens and ships and oh my gosh, I am so excited about this game. Now, the fact that, again, this one is a cooperative, solo, competitive, there are different ships to fly. It is a physics-based space board game where you're going to be using your ship to move around and when the ship moves around, it can move in different ways. I'm so enamored with mission-based space games, and I am so stoked for this.
We've tried to play some of these. Was it Red Alert? Was the name of it? What was the other space one where you were working to control the ship?
Are you talking about the one that it was timed?
Yeah, it had like an audio tape with it.
Yeah, that was Red Alert.
Red Alert. Like we played games like this in the past, and my problem with them is they're very complicated, right? This
Yeah,
game, and I had that thought about this game when I first looked at it because the pieces look cool and they look very complicated. But then I started reading some of the reviews of people who play tested it, and a lot of them have said, this game is very accessible. It's easy. It's got a lot of cool, complex features, but it's not hard to figure out. And that kind of really drew me to this game.
absolutely, absolutely. I agree with you. I mean, when you think about some of these big complex games, to the point of like Zaya or Eclipse or even um what was it, Twilight Imperium? I couldn't think of the word that one. Twilight Imperium. I mean, these are big complex games, and if this one can play that, make it just a little bit more streamlined and accessible to other players, even better, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I love that it's got co-op features too.
Yes, because that's one of the things that I really enjoy playing with this idea is being able to play with my friends, going trying to complete a mission as opposed to always just playing against other people all the time. I like that working together element. I'm very excited to see a space game do that.
completely agree with you, Will. All right, ready for the next one?
Sounds like a plan. What you
All
got?
right. So next up on my list is a little game called Dinosaur World. So dinosaurs are huge in my family. Not only do my kids love dinosaurs and I love dinosaurs, my wife probably loves dinosaurs more than the rest of us. So anytime I see a board game with this theme, I'm instantly drawn to it because I'm like, I have a game that my wife might actually like that, we can play as a family and just have a blast. And so I was instantly drawn to this game. And then there's also another one very similar called Dinosaur Island Rar and Right that looks really good too. But we're going to focus on Dinosaur World right now because it's more of the big box game. I think more of what our audience here at the MMG will be more interested in. So this one is for 2 to 4 players. It plays in 1 to 2 hours, which I love the time. That's perfect time for me. Designer is Brian Lewis, David McGregor, and Marissa Masua, I think. The artist or the artwork on this game looks fantastic. Not only do the pieces look like they come to life or come to life, they come to life when you look at them, and the little tiles and stuff. And another cool thing, and again, this is very much in my case, but my wife loves tile based games, and so that was another factor that really pulled me into this one. So very excited for this one. What do you guys think?
I love the little meeple jeeps. I don't know why, but that just intrigues me. And the fact that it has the recess player boards, I wish more games did that. I hate it. Hate it when you've got these games. You have to put little cubes down on tracks, and it always happens where the table gets hit or you knock the board or whatever, and you're like, "Where was this piece?" I I wish more games did that, and this one has that, so I'm pretty excited about it.
Completely agree. And I also there's some pictures of metal coins. Now, usually you find metal coins in like the deluxe version or the collector's version.
Yeah.
I haven't researched enough. I hope it comes in the standard version because I love that. I really think it adds value to the game.
Well, you gotta love those upgraded components. They look a little bit different too, don't they? A little bit of a different shape, which is cool. I like the fact that the metal coins do have different dinosaur skeletons on them. That's pretty neat. What do you think of this one, Ryan?
I'm really excited for it. And honestly, I adjusted my next podcast or my next game because of it.
Okay, so go ahead and well, real quick, I just want to mention that this one is from Pandasaurus Games. They do some other amazing games, also in the dinosaur world there. So be sure to check out their stuff. They do some amazing games. So, all right, Ryan, go ahead and take it to the next one.
Okay, so I actually adjusted my games just a little bit because Dinosaur World is honestly, not to say Jurassic Park or Jurassic World, you're building a theme park based on dinosaurs. So speaking of building theme parks, the game I'm looking forward to is called Funfair. It's a theme park designer games, and both my kids want to be theme park designers when they grow up. So this one's a little more complicated with the age range. It looks like at 14 and up. We played Meeple. What was it we played? Meeple
Meeple
Lane.
Land
Meeple
from
Lane,
Blue Orange.
which had similar, looks like similar sort of theme, and maybe even a little bit of similar play styles. You're basically buying your blueprints and then building your attractions to build your perfect fair. So, or theme park, not fair. But I liked how I liked in these types of games where you sort of get to create your own version of whatever's in your mind when it comes to an amusement park or a theme park. And each time you play it, you'll probably play it a little bit differently. So I see there are probably tons of replayability. And as a card game, there's that randomness of you're not sure what cards you're going to get, but you also have to be a little bit more strategic based on the resources that you have. So all things sort of fit in there. Now I'm all for competitive or cooperative games we've done, but every once in a while you need a good competitive game where somebody's going to win, and this might be one that sits around our house uh, to fill that void.
This one definitely seems like it takes up less table space than Meeple Land.
Yeah, I did notice that, but and Meeple Lane had its own pluses due to the fact that it's like you had those more physical tiles that you were building. The locations mattered, but still, I think this one could be fun.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that was really the big draw of it is you're building these giant theme parks where this one's more has a feeling of more of a big top, right? So you can
Well,
be
big top, maybe a little more local fare, sort of, not necessarily the big amusement park, but I mean, I don't
yeah,
know. Either way, I think they're my family would enjoy it. So
absolutely. And I think the art looks really good. All the art so far that I've seen is actually fairly unique, and I do enjoy the fact that they're not just rehashing art on every single card. So that's nice.
yeah, so that was my game.
All right, so next up for me is going to be a game called Horrified American Monsters. This is the quote unquote like sequel to 2019's Horrified from Ravensburger. Designer is Michael Mulvihill. This one is more of the American monsters. It is a cooperative dice building, pick up and deliver, action point game. Think of a think of a more of a game kind of like in the way that kind of think of it, I guess, is it feels like a pandemic as far as like when you're going to be moving around the board and you're going to be having to defeat creatures and monsters and using your actions to collect items and resources and then spend them to be able to defeat the unique monsters. The fact that every single monster you fight has a different mechanic and how they work. Heck, you can even throw all the monsters in there at once and have a huge epic game where you're going to be fighting all the monsters, and it makes it even harder to be able to play the game. And I like that. I definitely enjoy games where I'm fighting some sort of big bad, and the big bad actually has a unique feel. So it's almost like a different game every time you play it. Games really do that. That stand out to me is like Aeon's End. Every time you play it, you fight a different creature, and every creature you're playing against is different. And I love that. And I really love what Horrified and the fact that the game is super simple and it's almost like any member of a family can play this, and it's completely cooperative, which is great as well. Have you guys ever played Horrified?
Man, it was on my list the last time we did one of these because I mean, it was unknown, but I thought it sounded really cool. And I think you own it, don't you, Will?
I have not yet purchased it, but I honestly do not know why. It is
Yeah,
such a good game.
I want to check it out for sure. I was thinking you had bought it, and then I just kind of missed it because we haven't been able to get together because of the pandemic.
Right? Been kind of hard for us, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Ryan, do you enjoy the old B movie villains like the Mummy, Werewolf, Frankenstein, all that stuff? Bigfoot? Oh, I think Ryan's gone.
It's all good. Let's move on to my next one.
All right, so go ahead and take off.
This one is called Suspects. Now, this is actually inspired by Agatha Christie, the old books.
Okay,
And
yep.
I've never read those, but I've heard my wife talk about them, and she's very passionate about it. And I love murder mystery type of games especially when you can work as a team, right? To try to
Mhm.
solve there's really been a string of those come out recently where it's like solve a mystery together. And I just think that is so much fun because you can introduce people who aren't board gamers to them, and they're going to have fun. And I've done that a couple times now, and every time it's been a big hit. And my thought is, it's once and you're done too. So it also doesn't take up a lot of space on your shelf, right? Because you're going to play it once and you're done with the thing. I mean, and that's what they're designed for. I actually really like that aspect of these games. And this is going to be one of them. It's going to be three different mysteries in this first pack, and from what it sounds like, there's going to be more after this. And
Hmm.
so this is going to follow Claire Harper. She was the first woman to graduate Oxford, it said, and she specializes in criminal law. So you're going to go with her on these adventures and use your skills in deduction and problem solving to figure out this mystery and beat the three different theaters that it takes you through. So I'm pretty excited for this one. My kids are getting old enough. It says age is 10 plus, and my one daughter's old enough, and my other one, she's not quite there yet, but I think she'll be able to pick it up and play it. So I think this is something fun that me and just maybe my family might play, even not waiting for other families to join us. But it does do 1 to 8, so you definitely could fit in enough to get a couple families together and then all sit down and just kind of have fun and play it. So I'm pretty excited for this one.
Who's this by?
Oh my goodness, you're gonna ask me that? Did you see the names on this?
Who's the publisher?
Sebastian Nadelic, Paul Hartler, and Gulamoon Montego, I think is the names. I apologize if I butchered some of your names. Publisher is Studio H.
All right. Very cool. Very cool. So this kind of sounds to me like, what were the name of those games? The Hunt-A-Killer, right?
Right. Yeah, that was some of them I was thinking of when I was talking about, there's been a lot of these come out here recently, and and I've done the Hunt-A-Killer, and I think they're really fun. I've actually looked at buying more. I wish the price was a little bit cheaper, man. The $30 price tag for a one-time play kind of kills it for me a little bit. I really would like to see those in the $15 to $20 range. But the thing with those games is you usually get 1 or 2 items that you actually keep afterwards for like the memories. Like the one was a bottle opener that we got that was a clue,
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that's kind of cool. Like I got that bottle opener and I keep it on my refrigerator just for good memories.
Right.
Who doesn't need a bottle opener, right?
You always use an extra one, right? Well, I mean, 3 complete mysteries, though. I mean, that's a evening. That's a kind of like a date night, if you will, right? Or if you have more than it says plays up to 8 players. I mean, heck, that's a party, a dinner party.
Right, definitely. And
That can be fun.
I don't know the price on these either, so I could be completely off. I mean, I hope for these 3 missions it's not $90 because those, the ones that you were talking about, the murder mystery stuff, those are just one shots.
Right.
And so, if this game's priced in, even $50 would be okay for 3 of them, in my opinion.
I believe Suspects is going to retail for $30.
Oh, see, that's perfect. I have no problem. That's $10 per mystery you go on. That's well worth it.
Right. I think so as well. So, all right. So, Ryan, you going to go ahead and give us your next game on the list? All right, we must have lost Ryan, so let's just move on. So the next game on my list is going to be Transformers deck building game. This one is from Renegade Game Studios. I love what Renegade does, the games they put out and everything. The fact that we are getting a Transformers deck building game that, again, guess what? This follows the theme for me, is cooperative. And again, the fact that we're going to be playing against like Gen 1 Transformers, I am stoked for. That's what I grew up with. That's what I absolutely love. And I cannot wait to check out what they've done with the deck building genre. Not a bad price point either. You could pre-order this game, for like $35 or so, $35-$40. And I love Transformers. I love the Decepticons. I love everything about that. And I'm excited. I'm excited. I really don't know what else to say about this game. Are you a Transformers fan?
Yes and no. So old school cartoon Transformers when I was a kid, yes.
Right.
I've never been able to get into any of the newer stuff that's came out. I don't know if it's me that aged or if I just don't like the direction that it changed to. That I'm not really sure about. But I'll be honest. For some reason, Transformers in a deck building game, that just seems to mesh really, really well together. So
Right.
I completely agree with you. I think this is going to be a really cool game. I hope they've done it right. I'm very excited to check it out.
Well, they're also coming out with a G.I. Joe game as well, deck building game that I'm hoping it all kind of like just crosses together and maybe you can play with Transformers and the G.I. Joe crossover and play it together. I think that'd be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. The tokens here look pretty neat. I like the fact that you got these little cues for the Energon. That just fits to me. Just fits perfect in a theme. So,
completely agree.
All right. So, what is next on your list?
Next up, we're going to one of my favorites, Camel Cup. Right, Will?
Camel Cup. Yes, it is.
It's funny when this game first came out. We had a large discussion of, is this game Camel Up or Camel Cup? Just because of the way it's titled in the board. And, we all knew what it was actually called, but it was just fun to bicker back and forth. But we have a new one coming out, Camel Up Off Season. And this is going to do something completely different. This is not your camel racing game that it used to be. This is more of a stacking slash what's the right term? Stacking slash management game where you're trying to manage all this stuff on the back of your camel without it falling off. And it looks interesting. So I don't expect a lot of depth in these type of games. Like I knew what I got when I got Camel Up, right? It was a racing game.
Camel Cup.
And it was fun. Camel Cup, Camel Up, yeah. It was fun, and it was actually it ended up being a really good game to introduce non-gamers to, because it was simple, but it had enough strategy there that it would kind of pull you in it, and you'd find yourself really getting into it, and you're like, why am I so into this? And that's what I really liked about that game. I'm hoping this game does the same, though the mechanics actually looks a lot simpler. Some of these games can surprise you though, right? Trying to manage and stack things. So I have a lot of hope for this game, and I cannot wait to check it out. This one is published by Pretzel Games, and I'm going to be at your booth, Pretzel Games. So hopefully you got a copy for me ready to go.
Definitely love to check out how to play. So, man, so you think this is more the dexterity based, right?
Well, no. So, well, yes and no, right? Like, so and they've done the same thing they did with Camel Cup. They made you're going to be building like a tent and like a little thing to put your cards on out of the cardboard, like they did with the pyramid for the dice from the first game.
Oh, okay. So you're not actually stacking things on top of the camel. I see now. I'm looking at the picture now.
Yeah. So you're not going to actually stack, but you do have to. I mean, you do, but you don't. You don't physically stack them. It's not like animal upon animal, for instance. Like that game. And that game is fantastic, by the way, if you have kids. Not to get off topic, but Will, you actually bought that for my family, and we still play that game. And it's been like, what, 6-7 years since you bought it? It's a fantastic game.
Absolutely. No, this one looks cool. I like how the tents look.
Yeah, I have high hope for it. Like I said, I don't have high expectations of it being something super deep, but that's not what I want out of this game,
Right? Oh, absolutely. All right, so next up on the list for me is a game called, hopefully I'm not going to butcher the name here, Diabolic Heists and Investigations. So this one is from Damn Things and Pendragon Game Studio, designed by Luca Maragno. This one looks like a very fun, again, cooperative deduction, hidden movement game. It almost reminds me a lot of Letters of Whitechapel, and the fact that you've got the police going after these people doing these heists, and there's cops and police, and you're going around this board trying to track. And I think this is going to be an absolute blast. I love how the board looks. I like the theme more than Letters of Whitechapel, where you're one person's Jack the Ripper going around trying to murder these wenches or whatever, and this one's more, hey, we're gonna be trying to do these heists around the map, and I think that's gonna be fun. I think it's gonna be exciting, and I'm very jazzed up. I love the art. I love how this masked criminal is on the player shield. I like the books. The cards, the back of the cards, I love the colorful, whimsical, almost comic booky look to it. And I'm excited. I think this looks like a lot of fun.
Will, what was that game?
That one is a Diabolic Heists and Investigations.
Okay. So looking at the screenshots, the pictures, it does look like a very cool game. I love the map.
Mm-hmm.
It's different. It's not complicated. It's simple. But and the pieces too, pretty common. You just have little cardboard cutouts with a little stand that you set them on. Nothing super cool, but it's got the art. It's got the comics. That's what I was thinking of. It's got the comic on your little board, your little hider board, or whatever you want to call it. What's the thing's called?
Like that player screen.
Yeah, player screen. Thank you. I couldn't think of the actual name. It's got like the comics on that. I think that's just like a really cool touch. So that kind of makes it up for me, like the pieces not being so fancy. And I hate when pieces are super fancy and it totally makes the price like outrageous.
Well, I was just about to say, man. So, I was looking at this and I was just thinking, man, I think it'd be kind of cool if you had little minis. But I'm like, you know what? I've got these games that the minute you pay for the miniatures, and and it takes up so much retail inside the box. And yes, like you said, it ups the price. And I don't care if it's a miniature, if it's a fun game. And I think this looks like a fun game. I'm very intrigued by what the board layout is, and how there's the different players and the actions you can take, and just the art alone makes it seem like it's going to be a blast. And I can't wait to check this out and talk to the guys, uh, or the folks, excuse me, at Damn Things and Pendragon Game Studio Gencon this year. All right, so what's next up on your list?
I got one more on my list, and that is Mind Management, the psychic espionage game. And so again, going more back towards the mystery puzzle games, deduction games, logical deduction games that I tend to like a lot. This game is going to be in that realm, and you are going to be working as a psychologically powered agent to stop the global crisis. That's the actual term that they use. I thought that was really, really good verbiage there. And it just looks like a fun game. I like that it plays 1 to 5 players. Sometimes you get, 1 to 4 is usually most games, I think, the majority. But sometimes you always have the 5th person that shows up. You try to get as many as you can over. And so I appreciate the games that can support 1 to 5 players just in case. Anytime you can get it to the table a little bit earlier or a little bit easier, I like that one. The designer is Jay Cramier and Sin Fong Lim, and then the artist is Matt Kindit. And this one is published by Off the Page Games. I'm not familiar with them. Do you know any other games they've done?
Actually, I do not.
Might be one of their first ones, which is exciting, man. I love indie studios and smaller publishers who are trying to get their foot in the ground.
Right.
So I definitely hope to meet them and talk to them here at the Gen Con this year, and maybe even get our eyes on this.
Right. I'm looking at the board here, and man, it does look busy.
Right, it does, and it looks confusing. So the thing about this game is there's different clues you have to pick up on the board.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I think it changes based off the different pieces that you're using. Does that make sense?
Right. It's almost like, in a way, if whatever reason, it reminds me a lot, as far as like how the gameplay works and everything, is like Deception.
Right.
You're trying to like give like clues and stuff, and that's like one of your favorite games of all time.
It is definitely. Deception, Murder in Hong Kong, definitely my favorite party game for sure.
Sure.
And this game kind of has that. It also has a little bit of the oh boy, I'm forgetting the name of it now. Sabotage, not Sabotage. What's the game where there's one of you that's
like Hidden Movement?
What's the game where there's one of you working against the rest of the people?
Like one versus all.
Yeah, there you go. Something like that. So it's got that aspect, which I normally like completely co-op games, but when you look at like Deception, Murder in Hong Kong, you're not necessarily. I mean, there's one person leading the group trying to get them to the right answer, right? And then there's a killer, and then there can also be like an accomplice, and then it can get pretty complicated the more you have. But I like how there's usually like one person that's you don't know who's the bad guy, and a lot of games do that, and I enjoy that quite a bit.
Absolutely. All right, so the final game on my list is a little game called Deranged. I think this game looks absolutely awesome. It is a adventure horror game with miniatures, with a very beautiful color board. There is the possibility of a trader, which I think is a lot of fun in certain types of cooperative games. And I love how this game looks. I love the idea of, you going into this town, and you're going to be trying to investigate and figure out what's going on. The art kind of, I think maybe an acquired taste. If you like this kind of art, it's going to be either hit or miss. You're either going to love it or you're not going to really be a fan of it. And I got to say, I'm a fan of it. This looks very much like 80s 90s style art, and I think it just looks great. I'm not so much of a fan of all the arrows that are all over the board telling you which locations you can go. Kind of detracts from the aesthetic a little bit to me. but I think it may be kind of necessary because of how busy the board is for like the location. But the fact that you've got, deck, bag, and pool building in this game, variable player powers, a trader, modular boards, there's a lot of possibilities to make this game completely unique every single time you play it. So you're going to be trying to survive. If you're gonna be trying to survive against the board itself, or even this trader who will maybe even turn into a monster. And it's almost like I'm sitting there thinking, like, what is the name of that show, The Walking Dead, right? So if somebody gets bitten by a zombie, they're gonna turn into a zombie, and all of a sudden they're the bad guy. I think it's gonna be great.
Completely agree. I do like the artwork on this one. I hope the gameplay is fun, and like you said, the board. I hope it's not overcomplicated, because I do get that. That was my first impression when I looked at it.
Right? What do you think of the art?
I like it.
I do. I can't say enough about how much I love it. I'm excited. And the fact that it does have miniatures, but doesn't seem like it's an overwhelming amount of miniatures, I think is good. I think it's very good. So I will definitely be checking this out. And again, this is from Hobby World. Designer is German Tikhomarov. I think I said it right. I hope I did. But all right, everybody. This has
Well,
been
hold on a second, Will.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a game we got to talk about that I know was on Ryan's list and we lost him.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
We're all super excited for it. That's the Dungeons and Dragons Ghost of Saltmarsh board game.
Oh, yes.
We're huge D&D fans here, and so this is going to take effect in it's a standalone, right? But it's also carries on from the Ravenlofts. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it is basically the next. It's part of their D&D adventure system, like the Ravenloft, Dungeon of the Mad Mage, those kind of things.
And I mean, it looks like a ton of fun. I love the Ravenloft world and the settings, and so the board looks kind of bland. I'm not gonna lie, but it looks very D&D. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't want to take away from it. It doesn't do anything super special for me, but it fits the setting and what I want to see.
Right.
And it's got miniatures, not a lot, but it's got a few, and it's got tokens. So you're not taking up a bunch of retail space like you said, but you do have some tokens where you want them, or some miniatures where you want them. And then ones you don't really need miniatures for, looks like the monsters, for instance. You don't have to worry too much about that. Some of the monsters look like are there, but it looks like they're mostly heroes to me. Kind of hard to tell from the screenshot. But I do think the game looks really good. It's got a lot of cards. Did you see the expansion pack or the dungeon tiles? I mean, sorry, it's got a lot of dungeon tiles.
Right.
Which is kind of be cool, can it kind of not be cool, right? Like trying to build that dungeon, if they don't have a system set up that makes it easy and it's very time consuming, that's going to kind of be annoying to me. I don't like a game that has a lot of setup time. Like I want to get it to the table and get going.
Right. Castle Ravenloft was actually one of the first dungeon crawl games that you and I played. And
Right.
I remember I was a dwarf character and you were getting swarmed by a whole bunch of enemies, and I just remember running for the exit.
Survive, and you left me to die, but we made it, right?
Die. Yep, but we won, or I won. I don't know about you, but well, hey, we also did mention forget to also name one of Ryan's other games that he's excited about, and that is Cascadia.
I'm excited for this one too. I'm not gonna lie. Did you ever play that Parks game that came out 2 years ago? I think it was.
I did not.
The one that took you to the national parks. Man, the artwork. I remember looking at that at Gencon and almost buying it like every time I walked by it. It has so much table presence and it looks fantastic. And that's what I get from this game too. And I'm gonna probably end up buying one of them this time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna lie, either grab Parks or grab this one. This one looks really cool. It's got a lot of cool animals on it. I think it's gonna be very appealing to the younger kids like that I have, and me too. What was the bird game called? Wingspan, thank you. So that game, it kind of did this too, except with birds. Obviously, this is going to be focused more on. It looks like mammals, but there's also birds and stuff too. So it looks like a little bit of everything. But man, it looks really good with the artwork and it looks fun. I hope there's a lot of pieces, and it looks like a lot of smaller pieces too. And so I hope it doesn't get overcomplicated and a little too much for my children. So we'll see. I definitely am excited to check it out.
And Ryan's last game on the list that before he inadvertently disappeared is Mountain Goats, and this one is from BoardGameTables.com. Designer is Stefan Risthas, and this one is a game where you're going to be trying to climb your goat up a mountain. Plays in about 20 minutes. He likes these kind of games, I know, because they're quick, they're fun, they're easy, and almost anybody can get involved. And it has some deep strategy for how small the game is.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a bunch of these type of games. I like the little meeple goats; they're pretty cute.
Right?
I mean, it looks like a fun game, and it definitely looks like something I think Ryan and his family would enjoy. And he's got 2 younger kids like we do, or like I do, and then you have one. But these are the type of games that we look for. And the 10-minute playtime, I mean, that can be fantastic, right? Because I don't
Right.
know how many times I've wanted to sit down and play a game, but we don't have an hour to play a game, and so being able to fit it into a tight window like that's pretty nice.
Right. And the fact that from what it looks of it and how the description reads, it's very strategic, and there's a little bit of a thinking point involved. So it's not just the game plays itself in 20 minutes. You've really got it. It's deeper than what it lets on.
Right.
So, all right, everybody. This has been Will, Eric, and Ryan from the Mature Minded Gamers going over our top 5 games each for Gen Con 2021. Be sure to check out all of our other great content on MatureMindedGamers.com. We do video games, board games, Star Trek, and so much more. We'd even love to have you join us on our Discord. So until next time, everyone, stay safe and take care.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. See you at Gen Con.
See you at Gen Con.